I am under the weather, so let's talk about some feel-good books I have read this year. So this month we're basically doing a recap of what I've read this year, and I'll talk about a couple of books that were feel-good to me, books that made me have a warm, fuzzy feeling by the time I finish them. This doesn't necessarily mean these books are brilliant books, but they were books I enjoyed, and I ended them being like, oh, you know what? Oh, that was nice. So let's get right into it. But actually before that, you can pick up these books from the description down below. They link to bookshop.org, which is a company that works with local bookshops and it gets them a little kickback, or get them from your local library. Let's start off. We are starting off with The Hedgehog Dilemma. This book is adorable. It is so sweet. It is quite a emotional read, even though it's very simple. If you're going to read it, do definitely pick up a physical copy. I obviously, even digitally, I just don't feel like it's gonna really hit the same. The illustrations are so sweet. They're so just like, they really make your heart like beat, you know. Our hedgehog protagonist goes through a whole host of emotions, basically going from, you know, lacking confidence or lacking self-belief to kind of in the end being like, oh, actually no, I kind of believe in myself. I know what's happening. I don't mind how life is gonna go. I'm satisfied, or at least I will be satisfied. It's very wholesome. I think, you know, if you're the kind of person who, like me, maybe sometimes lacks self-confidence or sometimes lacks self-belief, maybe more so, this book is really for you. It is all about kind of that journey that people go through. It's not necessarily like and then everything was resolved ending, but it was okay, some progress has been made here. And I really like that about this. Up next is What You're Looking For Is in the Library by Michiko Aoyama. This was Aoyama's first book, I believe, and I think the more famous one is The Healing Hippo of Hidden Park. I feel like this book is better, in my opinion, of the two. I just really liked maybe the setting a bit more, it being obviously being a library and me being a very booky person. But I think The Healing Hippo is pretty decent as well. But this one really gave me that feeling of, oh my god, this is so sweet. You know, all the characters go through something. They change, they grow. There's even some characters who are a little bit more resistant to that change, even at the end of their chapter. So this is Japanese healing fiction at its prime. It is basically a textbook Japanese healing fiction. But this is one that I really enjoyed. You know, obviously I've spoken about them before, where I kind of go through the lulls with Japanese healing fiction, and a lot of them are very samey. But even though this one followed the exact same formula as the others, I still came away with it really feeling heartfelt. Like, oh, you know what, I feel really good about this at the end. I think it was just Aoyama's storytelling style was really good and really lent into it very much, you know. And it's very much, I feel like, the most family-friendly, almost healing fiction book I've read. I think there's maybe one thing that they talk about where it's like, it's not even not family-friendly, it's like, oh, the implications, but also is kind of like, I am approaching a thing that happens in Japanese society, or society in general, but Japanese society in particular. I'm like, oh, I'm surprised that was even brought up in one of these stories. But I think it's a very good book. You know, of the Japanese healing fiction I've read recently, it's definitely up there. I'm gonna need you to hear me out with this one. We're talking about Michael Tyler's Impossible Monsters. I bought this book up before in a recent video, but this book really surprised me. Again, picked up the book thinking, oh my god, it's a book about dinosaurs, dinosaur biology, paleontology, all those kind of things. It wasn't. It was about science, the history of science, the way dinosaurs related to the development of biological science and biological history, evolution, you know, how dinosaurs play such a key, like how the role of dinosaurs came so strong within culture, particularly British culture. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. I am so surprised I enjoyed it so much because it wasn't what I was expecting. That's my own fault. I just saw the cover. It's like, dinosaur, let me read. And then I was just blown away. Genuinely, one of the best non-fiction books I have read this year. Arguably in a very long time. You know, obviously, in particular, one of the best non-fiction books that isn't about politics. Obviously, I mostly talk about politics and like history, I guess, but mostly politics books. But this book in particular really was like, yo, let me take you on a ride about British history, about the history of British science. And you know what? I'm glad I came along for that ride, because wow, I was blown away with how much I enjoyed this book. Next is Days at the Murasaki Bookshop. I have spoken about this book multiple times, so I'm not going to talk about it again in great detail. I have multiple videos where you can go and talk about it. And hey, I even got a comment recently where someone was like, I saw your review of Days at the Murasaki Book Club and I went off and bought it and I didn't actually enjoy it. And you know what? I love that, because I think just because I say I really like a book doesn't necessarily mean you will. And that's kind of, I thought these were really heartwarming to me, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're the best book or even the best book for you. And I like that. So, if you don't like any books that I mention that I like, please tell me. It's really interesting to me and I won't be offended unless it's like Earthsea. Then I will take that personally. I will take that to my grave. But anyway, back to Days at the Murasaki Bookshop. This book was really heartfelt and emotional, and it made me feel like I can do anything, actually. I think particularly the first half or 2/3, I was like, wow, yeah, you know what, I can do what I feel is best for my life. I can achieve, if you believe, you can achieve and you can pilot your own life. Please comment down below if you understood that reference. But yeah, it was really like, okay, yeah, I can do this. Like the last half or third was, I think, it felt like obviously it was a slightly different story. It felt like maybe an idea for another book, which wasn't quite fleshed out enough to be a whole book, but also I guess kind of appended very well to the first, I think it's the first 2/3, but I can't remember. It appends well, but I feel like it could have made its own book, but the author might not have had like the meat there for the whole book to be fleshed out into something. But I walked away with it really being like, yeah, you know what? Banger, I can do this. Have I taken those lessons to heart? Not really, but I should, and I will. Final book I want to talk about is Yeonam-dong's Smiley Laundrette. It's the first time I'm actually going into great detail about this book. I think I think so. I think it did come up in my books from the Republic of Korea video, but I want to go into detail more here. This book was Korean healing fiction, and it was the first Korean healing fiction book I'd read. And you know what? It hit. I think it took many of the aspects of Japanese healing fiction that I like and went even further with them. The fact that there's an entire through line which then tells like an even more complex and deep plot through that through line is great. So typically with these kind of books, you have the through line being just these characters know each other, they'll bump into each other, they'll be friends, maybe in a follow-up book, you'll see them interacting more together. But this one, you had basically these individual stories with one other story basically playing out through all of them, and then you get kind of the information about that links all of them together in one. And it's not that the different stories are inherently linked, but there was one thing going through it which then you see happen at the end. Not the end, well, the penultimate chapter, and those are related to all the other ones. And even the last chapter, I guess, is related to the ones before, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. I believe so. So, yeah, that's really well done. And initially, I was a bit confused. I was like, why are they talking about this portrait? Why are they talking about this thing? Why is he mentioning this character? I don't know what he's talking about. And then the next one, a little bit more is in, and the next one more, and then the next one's like, oh, there's loads, and then we hit the big reveal. So I thought that was really well done. It took something, I guess, I always go back to Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Before the Coffee Gets Cold has done over multiple books, or at least you didn't really see it in the first one, but by the second or the third, you saw that thread being built. But they did it in one book, and I thought that was really impressive. And I would definitely read another book by the author. So, and by the end, I was like, wow, I really like this. You know, collectivism, great. And that coming from a Korean author as well. Ooh. But yeah, it was really like, oh, well, this is sweet. And so, those are some books that made me feel fuzzy inside. Not the kind of fuzzy that I'm feeling right now, because I feel like I'm going to be ill, but the nice fuzzy. So, if you are interested in these books, again, like I said, you can pick them from the description down below or get them from your local library. And also, if you're interested in getting something, maybe you could get a membership. My members get access to bonus videos, bonus content. They get an essay at the end of the month. They get book club, movie club, a say in the way the channel is being built. So if you are interested, you can join by hitting the join button down below or on my channel from as little as £1 a month. If you are interested, if not, thank you for getting to this part of the video. I really appreciate it. Remember to like, subscribe, share the video with a friend or family member, and hey, I hope you read a really great book today. One that makes you feel fuzzy inside. And I am going to go pound some cold and flu medication.